journalist Karli Poliziani joining us from Grazia, USA. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Sweet Take, the Paddock's Best Kept Secret and Milkshakes interview series. Today we have journalist Karli Poliziani joining us from Grazia, USA, and her work is at the intersection of fashion, lifestyle, and culture. She just came back from her second year in Monaco, and oh my gosh, was it glamorous! From an exclusive hot lap around the track to ultra luxurious hospitality suites and a yacht party DJ'd by Naomi Campbell, she did it all. We are so excited to unpack Karli's amazing weekend and for her to tell us what actually goes on behind the scenes at the Monaco Grand Prix. So, Karli, welcome to the Sweet Take.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys for having me. I'm excited to talk.
Yeah, we saw the coverage that you had, and the access was unbelievable. Why don't you first tell us a little bit about yourself, the work that you do, and then we can jump into the weekend.
Yeah, of course. So, like you said, I'm Karli. I am the digital director for Grazia USA, but I also work as the international digital editor for the Grazia International Network. So, primarily my work is for our US edition, but I'm actually based out of Milan now. I go to a lot of international events, interview celebrities, everything from fashion to lifestyle, and cover these events for our international network. That part of the job is primarily for social media. So, within that realm, this year I went to the Monaco Grand Prix, which we're obviously here to talk about, which was absolutely incredible. So, one of my favorite parts of the job is getting to go to events like this and interview different people, report out on it, and the fashion, of course. So, really excited to dive into it.
For sure. We are so happy for you to join us today. One of the highlights that I saw was this was the very first year that the Monaco Grand Prix decided to do the Pirelli Hot Lap program. And I had done one of these in Miami before, so I know how crazy it is. But Monaco is on a whole other level because it's a street circuit. It's so close to the walls. Can you tell us a little bit about what that experience was like?
Yeah, so like you said, it was the first time they did it in Monaco, so feel super grateful to have had that experience, and I'm sure you can attest it is exhilarating, truly like a once in a lifetime type of moment. It was really cool getting to do it on the Monaco circuit because there really isn't a circuit like it. So I had a really wonderful driver. His name was Ben. So we drove in a Mustang. He said he had been racing his whole life, and he did a really good job of, as we were going around all the different streets, all the different iconic turns, like the hairpin, he kind of was also giving me a little bit of like a history lesson while we were driving, which I don't know how he was multitasking like that. I was just trying to keep my composure, but really, really thrilling experience. And I would say one of the highlights of my trip. That was really cool to be a part of.
That's insane that he was half tour guide, half racing you around.
No,
It's
I know.
just
And he told me at the very end it was his first time driving a hot lap too, which I'm kind of glad he didn't say at the beginning because obviously he's an experienced driver, but there's always that little bit of nerves, but no, he was amazing and I don't know how they do it, but it was so cool getting to be in the car with them and see the circuit.
That's incredible. I've done one of these before in Miami, and I had an ex F1 driver that didn't say a word, so I felt like I had to make conversation. If not the whole time, it would just be me making these squeaking noises in the corner. And it got awkward. So I love that he also took the time to point out like such historic moments of the track with you. And yes, I'm sure it's probably one of those pinch me moments from the weekend.
100%. And I can totally relate to what you mean about like the awkward speaking moments or the silence because it's this crazy ride. You're going so fast and like you almost feel like you should be screaming, but you're not screaming and smiling, but like making these little noises. But no, it helped that he was also like making conversation, explaining all the different parts to me. It was a really, really great experience.
I love that. So this was your second year going to the Monaco Grand Prix, is that right?
Yes.
And how did that compare to the first year?
Yeah, so it was actually a really different experience this year. So, something that I do now that I am, located over in Europe and traveling a ton is anytime I'm also planning or taking a personal trip, I try to incorporate my work into it. I'm always thinking from the Grazia lens of what could be a good opportunity for us to cover. So last year, I had a friend of mine who actually is super into Formula One and goes to the Miami races a lot for her job. And so she really wanted to go to the Monaco Grand Prix. So we were kind of planning out this trip. And I was working on networking, thinking about how I could cover it for the magazine, different angles that we could take that our readers would really enjoy. But by the time we planned the trip, it was a bit too last minute to get the press accreditation. So they offered some different events, but the article I wrote and the coverage I got was almost from an outsider's point of view. So more of kind of like where to see and be seen, different events happening, restaurants, bars, the parties, but not necessarily in the paddock and what it's like to see the race from the inside. So I was able, to watch the race being in Monaco. You can kind of be just hanging outside the buildings and watch it because it's around the streets. So I had a really cool view being able to watch it on one of the straightaways, but I wasn't inside on the action. So that trip in general was super surreal because it was my first time in Monaco. And I just think nothing really compares to the Monaco Grand Prix. But this year, using the contacts that I had met last year, was able to work directly with Formula One. So we had kind of planned out the content in advance. They offered a ton of different kind of VIP moments for us. So access to the Paddock Club, the hot lap, the photo safari. And I was able to be right up in there in the action. So the article I wrote this year was more of from the VIP insider point of view. So it was a much different experience and just super, super cool to kind of get the inside view of it all and be up close and personal, not only on the track, but with also the type of people that attend. Seeing the drivers, seeing the celebrities, but also just the people that work with Formula One, everyone's so passionate about it. So it was actually quite a different experience, and really, really cool to work directly with their team. They were amazing with everything.
Yeah, Monaco is such an enigma, I find, for a race because there's so much exclusivity about it. So that's why this particular conversation, the girls at Milkshake, just cannot wait to hear about all of these different experiences. So, one that you mentioned that many people won't understand what that term is the photo safari. And I know essentially it's when you were very close to the cars at a corner. So, tell us a little bit about that and the feeling and the sound and the smell, I'm sure, of being, at that moment.
Yeah, it was really cool. So, like you said, you're up close and personal on the track. So, on the right hand side, if you kind of looked over, you could see the grandstand and it was one of the straightaways. And then on the left hand side was actually the pit. So, it was really cool because you could see the cars racing. The sound is crazy. And like you said, the smell is like burning rubber. And my article title last year, it was like where gasoline meets glamour. And it's so true. It's like, all your senses are heightened being that close
Mhm.
to the track, but it was really cool also being so close to the pit because you saw them coming in, like, felt so close you could touch it, and then you're seeing where they're going in, they're working on the cars, the teams. Whenever it was time for that to end, I was not ready at all. They were like, "Okay, now we have to head back," and I'm like, "No, a couple more videos, couple more pictures," but it was a really cool experience because there's not many other times you can get that close to the track.
Definitely. The Monaco is a street circuit. It's an old school circuit, so there's way less, like, I guess, dead space between the track and the grandstands, and so you're, like, really up and personal there, and for anyone that's been to a race, the sound is insanely addictive. There's just something about it that just hits a frequency in your brain, and it's like, you can't get enough.
Yeah. No, 100%. You said it so true. It is like this addicting sense that you get.
So let's move on, Carly, to celebrities and some of the hospitality experiences from the weekend. I saw that you had a chance to interview Odell Beckham Jr., OBJ. Tell us about what that interview was like, or what the topics you covered, and why was he in town?
Yeah. So with my role at Grazia, I work a lot with different PR reps who are repping different brands, different clientele. And so they reach out to partner on different articles or coverage that they want their client to be featured in. So he was one of them, and they really wanted to focus on, with Grazia, we're a fashion magazine, a style takeover. So he was in the south of France for all the different events happening. You had right before Formula One, the Cannes Film Festival. So he was there for the Amphar Gala, which I was actually covering the red carpet as well. And then he was going to the Monaco Grand Prix and the French Open. So they were kind of wanting to do a photo diary style diary with us, but then also touch on his philanthropy efforts with his company and friends that host different events. So, since I was going to be there in person, it actually was a really seamless collaboration. One, he has great style. So, it was really fun getting to, see his different outfits, talk to him about his personal style. But then, two, I feel like in today's day and age, just like this, so many interviews, it's nice that we can do it over the phone, over the computer, online, but there is something just so different about getting to talk to someone in person. So it allowed us to really take this coverage to the next level, being able to meet up with him in person. So I interviewed him first at the Amphar Gala red carpet. So that was a really cool setting to meet. He was wearing a custom suit. It's much more formal. He was, super relaxed. The night was about philanthropy, going in, seeing people, and then to then see him in Monaco, I actually was able to go to his and friends event and sit down and have a sit down interview with him before the event started. So that was a much different vibe. He had much more of like the south of France yacht type of outfit, that French Riviera chic. So he has great style. So it was really cool to see his outfits. But then, there's the shift in the energy when you're about to host your own event and talk about your own philanthropic efforts. And also touched on his personal life too. He has a son who he credits to being, such a big focus for why he does what he does. So it was really cool to interview him for the magazine and kind of touch on all those different topics, and pulling style into it, but in such a different setting than we're used to.
That's awesome. And for those that are maybe unfamiliar with and Friends, can you tell us a little bit about their work and maybe the activation that they had?
Yeah. So his first event that he held was in New Orleans with the Super Bowl. So then I was kind of talking to him about, why choose Monaco for this next event. And he said it's one of his favorite places he's ever been. But he picks really high profile events, or, yeah, event spaces to then host his own event. So this one was on a yacht party, which is very common for different events and things happening within the race weekend, but it's to raise money, and he had an art gallery and art auctions, but then he also invites, people in the industry, his friends, they had performances. So it's all about raising money, and has the ethos of philanthropy behind it, bringing like art, music, social activities all together. So it's a really cool way to promote a good cause, but by doing something that's within more of the pop culture scene.
Makes sense. I saw some of the photos that I think you had about that event. It looked amazing. So, of course, we can't talk about Monaco without touching on your best dressed list. Who would you say made that list from obviously on both the men's and the women's side?
Yeah, well, I guess, a good segue for the men's side, of course, OBJ. Not just saying that because we're biased and covered it on Grazia, but he had some really cool looks. And then I feel like I'd be remiss not to talk about the drivers. Of course, Lewis Hamilton. He's always, I feel like, on the best dressed list. He has such a cool style, and he's not afraid to experiment with it. And then I would say on the women's side, I really love Simone Ashley's look. She wore this really cool co-ord matching set. I think it was leather. It was like a beige color. It was like a bomber jacket and mini skirt with pointed toe kitten heels, slicked back bun. It was like what I picture as like the essence of like Monaco, but still tying it in with motorsport with like the leather bomber jacket. And then I feel like I have to mention Naomi Campbell. I mean, she's synonymous with fashion, so she always kills it. And then for drivers' girlfriends, I always really love Rebecca Donaldson's style. So I also feel like she kind of embodies the Monaco style. It's always very classy, very elevated, but kind of picks different unique looks to go with. So I would say those were some of my favorites.
Love that. And Naomi is an F1 staple. She's been going to races for a very long time. She's loved F1. She's friends with Flavio Briatore. And so, yes, just star-studded. Okay, let's move on to some of the hospitality experiences. I saw that you were at the Red Bull Energy Station, the Gordon Ramsay Hospitality Suite, and also the MSC Explorer, the cruise ship. But let's first start with the Red Bull Energy Station because that one is iconic. That pool, there have been so many photos over the years of drivers who won, and the famous one with Daniel Ricciardo doing the belly flop in there. Tell us about these experiences and what the energy of these locations were.
Yeah. So when working with Formula One to kind of plan out what we were going to cover in the itinerary for the weekend, they connected us directly with Red Bull Racing. So they were super, super good about wanting us to come to different things, inviting us to different events, and one of that being giving us access to the energy station. So it really is an energy station. Like there's always something going on. When I was there, they had performances, they had dancers, they had live music. And it really is just a place to kind of recharge, but also get hyped up. They had food going around, they have drinks being passed around. So, and the location, I mean, you're like right on the water. So it was a really, really cool spot. And of course, iconic with that pool, but definitely high energy and really, really surreal to just be able to be there. Like you said, knowing there were so many iconic moments that have happened there.
And it's on a yacht, right? It's on a boat?
So it's not on a boat, but it's next to the boats. So there's like a little dock you walk up to take you onto it, but it's not like if I'm picturing some of the events I went to or parties I went to that were on yachts, like you're literally going up onto a big boat. This is on the water.
Gotcha. Obviously, Red Bull's in extreme sports, and they often will have, you know, those guys on BMX bikes doing crazy tricks. I'm like, is this happening on the water? But it is. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. The whole setup for Monaco is so unique, but super cool because there really isn't anything else like that.
Yes. And what was the food like at the Gordon Ramsay hospitality suite?
Amazing. I'm a big foodie, so that was really cool, because it was really, really, really high quality, good food, and then you overlooked the circuit, so the location was also unbeatable, but what was really cool about this hospitality suite was each day they changed the food. So I was only there one day, and it was, kind of an English themed British type of food, but the other days they had completely different cuisine. So it was really high end and it was really tailored to get people to taste the different types of food that their team was making and multiple courses. When I was there, because of the English theme, they had like a high tea section where they brought out little like finger foods and sandwiches, but it was so good and such a cool idea. Think especially for Monaco, knowing that it is elevated, it is this like luxury environment to kind of incorporate fine dining into the race weekend and being able to still watch the race from there.
And Gordon is such also a massive F1 fan, so it must be a cool moment for him to be able to have this type of activation. Did he make any appearances while at the event? Is he actually cooking?
So I don't believe he was the one actually cooking. I could be wrong there. I did not see him. So I didn't see any appearances from him, but I'm not positive if he was there throughout any other time of the weekend.
Okay, gotcha. And then MSC, so they're a large F1 sponsor. Was there people staying on this cruise ship or was it solely for an activation?
No, so there were people staying on it. I was actually very curious about that as well. So the Formula One team had invited us to go. There was like a big sit down speaking arrangement happening, and then also being able to see the cruise ship just with this partnership. So the president of Formula One actually was speaking there, which was really cool. But there were people staying on there. So, they had guests on there who came for the race weekend. You can of course get off the cruise ship, go walk around, and then stay on this. But of course, what else would you expect? It was super luxury. So even just being able to see it was a really amazing experience, knowing how involved they are with Formula One.
That's actually such a smart idea because Monaco's a small place and there's not that many hotels. So you add on this massive cruise ship with thousands of rooms that just adds so much more hospitality space for people to stay in. It's super smart. So I do remember Stefano Domenicali was who was speaking at this event. What would you say was one thing that stuck out to you from that panel that he did?
Yeah, so they actually touched a lot on sustainability and being carbon neutral, which I find just super interesting in general. With motorsport, it's not really a sport that you would naturally pair with that. So I thought that was really, really amazing that it is such a large focus for them, and something that they want to touch on to their audience.
Yes, I think a lot of people don't realize about F1 is it's an amazing place to test innovation. So all those sustainable like gas or fuel that they're testing in Formula 1 cars, the idea is that that will then make it to the mass market and we will have more sustainable fuel in the future. So that's awesome. That's the topic of that
Yeah.
particular event. All right, last one. We have to talk about Naomi Campbell DJing. So was this a surprise or was this planned?
No, it was a surprise. Again, I would say another highlight of the weekend. So the Tag Heuer event in general was, super luxe, super elevated, had a star-studded guest list. Kelly Rutherford was there, and I feel like anywhere she is like bound to be an amazing event. She's like all over town at the coolest thing. So that started off the night being like, you already know it's going to be an amazing event with them, of course. But when you started seeing the star studded guest list, your mind started going, okay, what surprises are going to happen? So I saw Naomi Campbell come, of course, and then they had their performances, their live music performances. And then she started walking out with Rampa, and everyone just kind of thought they were walking out and he was going to DJ. And then she put on the headphones and got behind the DJ booth and everyone's like pulling out their phones, but like wondering what's going to happen. And she killed it. She did the entire set. It was not planned. It wasn't on the invite. It wasn't something they were promoting, but she did amazing. And I got like a front row view of it all. It was really, really cool. And yeah, she killed it. It was amazing.
How long was her set and what type of music did she play?
So I don't know this for sure, but I think she played Rampa's set because it was mostly his music, like Cayenne music. Um, and it was a long time. It was at least over an hour, but she DJ'd the entire set. So she did great. And she was, you could hear her getting some advice from him and switching things up, and people were helping her. But for the most part, she did it by herself. Yeah, she did amazing.
That's awesome. Woman of many talents. I love
A
that.
woman of many talents, and she
Yeah.
looked phenomenal doing it too, which is equally as important.
I'm sure she's probably like the best dressed DJ that we've seen.
For sure.
Okay, Carly, we're so excited to unpack more of the fashion. So tell us more about the Monaco dress code. What were people wearing? What did you see?
Yeah, so, Monaco is a very, like, luxe place in general. So people dress up, people dress to the nines, designer, luxury is top of mind. I was surprised a bit this year to also see the casual end of things. So, when you think Monaco Grand Prix, I think of a lot of white outfits, co-ord matching sets, the dresses, the mini skirts, the pointed toe heels. But I was surprised, at least with like the star-studded guest list, of a lot more casual kind of streetwear vibes. Like Dua Lipa and Sofia Vergara both wore jeans and looked amazing while doing it, paired with more casual tops. And so there was a lot more almost like streetwear incorporated than I expected, but a good mix. Overall, I would say people are dressed up more, but there is a mix. Like Patrick Dempsey was in a suit, so you definitely still have the dressing up side of things. But yeah, something that surprised me was also seeing the more casual outfits that some of the celebrities chose.
Love that. Everyone's trying to be the effortlessly cool celebrity.
Yeah.
So, out of the 10 looks that we saw that you wrote for Grazia, which of those did you style or were those sponsored?
Yeah, so a little mix of both. So I usually do my own styling, but sometimes we partner with brands who want to be featured in the article of like, best different styles to wear or outfits to put together. So I had Retrofit, Soroya, and Herman Nadita reach out and want to feature some of their looks. So they kind of had a Formula One press email that went out about from the racetrack to the after parties. And so I was able to pick out a couple looks from them to style myself. And then something I also love to do when I cover different events, whether it's a fashion week or a Grand Prix, is rent different outfits. So I don't know if you girls are familiar with Nuuly, NuU.
I've heard of it. I've seen it.
So it's
Yeah.
available in the US, and I was traveling back and forth a bit. So I actually picked out different styles I wanted to put together an outfit from there and brought them back with me when I was traveling back to Europe. So it's a mix. It's fun getting to kind of style and pick out your own outfits. And I always love to write about the looks for my articles. So I have the Grazia lens in mind when I'm styling those. And then different brands that we partner with, of course, they kind of had their lookbooks or new arrivals that they're pushing to the demographic, but I still get to pick which styles I think are the best fit for the event or that we want to cover.
Amazing.
I love that you chose to rent some of your outfits and how with the reuse economy, and I think that's awesome. And also those brands you mentioned, Hermot and Nandita, make the cutest summer dresses. So
So cute. No, their styles were perfect for it. And especially being Monaco with a lot of the yacht parties, like summer dresses are like the perfect go to when trying to pick out different looks.
Amazing. So, a lot of the girls that want to go to Monaco are constantly thinking about what to pack. So, what would you recommend about the shoe situation? Are
Yes.
people prioritizing style or comfort?
So last year, I 100% prioritized style and I learned my lesson. I have the story to tell there. This year, I mixed it. Of course, style is always top of mind, but I definitely went more for comfort. So I had like platform sneakers I would wear when I did wear heels. I wore like kitten heels. But having access to the paddock, you actually have to wear closed toed shoes. So that was also something that was different than just kind of watching from the outside. But last year, I was wearing heels basically 24/7. And, some girls, they're born to walk in heels. I unfortunately am not one of those girls. I never have been. I will wear heels, but my feet very quickly get sore. So last year between the Cannes Film Festival and then coming to Formula One Monaco, I think my trip was about 9 days and I was wearing heels morning to night. So very quickly my feet got sore, but I kind of just thought like I was being a baby about it. So I was powering through. I was trying to match the vibe. Heels went with my outfits, sneakers did not. By the end of the week, I had to wear like flip flops and sandals. And when I got home, I was like, okay, I can rest my feet now. It's fine. My feet, I like could not walk and they were swelling. So I was like, oh, it seems like something's wrong. So I let it go. After a week, it didn't get better. I ended up seeing a podiatrist and I was causing nerve damage in my feet,
Oh my
which
gosh.
that's what was happening. I would have taken off the heels immediately. Like it's not that important. I just thought I was being a baby and I almost needed surgery on my feet. Thankfully,
Oh
I
my
did.
god.
No, so that was a big learning lesson. So this year, sneakers, I would say prioritize comfort over style because there's a lot of walking in Monaco and they also do not have Ubers. So it's really hard to get transportation. They have taxis, but especially a weekend like the Grand Prix, it's very, very hard to get one. You can go to the France border and get an Uber and come into Monaco, but especially at night, like once kind of you're in Monaco and you're trying to get out, you can't get a taxi for the life of you. And so both last year and this year, because I actually stayed in an Airbnb in Bay Soleil, like right on the border, had to walk about an hour home every night. So yeah, it's tough to get around in Monaco, I will say that. So yeah, last year went for style, learned my lesson. This year went for comfort.
oh my gosh, you went like all in. And well, thank goodness everything's okay. And
Yeah.
it was just like a
I'm okay.
tough lesson.
Yes, it was I was so mad at myself because I'm like, "Okay, it's not that important that you were wearing heels," but I didn't realize what was happening in the moment. But yes, learned my lesson for sure.
Well, the other thing is it's like you're walking on pavement. It's not like carpet where it's like cushioned. Like you're walking on literally like the road, right? Outside
Yes.
around the track. And so, my gosh, like your poor feet. I'm happy to hear they're all okay.
And in Monaco, a really hilly terrain. So you're walking uphill a lot too. And even to like get to the border or get to the top, there's a ton of stairs, or even there's some like outdoor escalators, which I've never seen anything like it. It's like the country is set up so uniquely, which is amazing, but you have to have that in mind when walking around because it's a lot of walking.
I'm imagining the massive outdoor escalators at a Disneyland where they're like
Yes.
several stories high.
No, I feel like I have, like, PTSD from this view of, like, seeing the escalator at night and being like, "Okay, I still have that far to go to get home."
Yeah. I'm one of those girls that's definitely thinks I'm a baby. Like my sister, Natasha, will be like, "You can wear this tiny kitten heel. Like, of course you can do that for days." And then after I'm like, "Oh God, no, I can't."
Yeah. Oh, me too.
Okay. So let's talk about some of your favorite moments of the trip. We saw that, you put this on your vision board to go to Monaco. Monaco's definitely the biggest bucket list race for me to go to. How did it feel to go to something that was on your bucket list and on your vision board?
Yeah, it definitely was a pinch me moment. I mean, even after I got home, I was quite literally pinching myself. It's the energy there is just incredible. And before I moved over to Europe, the south of France and Monaco were always places that I wanted to travel to. And I didn't travel a ton growing up. So these places, I always had the vision and believed in myself to do it, but it also in a way felt so unattainable and so far away because I didn't know, the path to get there or how you would make it happen. But I'm a true believer in manifestation, the power of prayer, and really believing in yourself and working hard. And so to be able to accomplish something like that and travel not only on a personal level but professionally as well was a really really surreal moment, and I think anyone who is able to go to the Monaco Grand Prix 100% go. It's worth it. It's a really indescribable experience. I just think it's such a unique place, and especially on a race weekend like that, the energy is just palpable. Like you can feel it everywhere you go. So it was really, really surreal to be able to, cross that off the bucket list and see it on the vision board and then really step into it in my reality. I feel super, super grateful to be able to do that.
It's amazing. Like we all aspire to do that. When did you actually create the vision board?
So this vision board specifically is my one for 2025. So started working on it with the new year. I think I've always had bucket list in the back of my head, sometimes written down. I'm a big person who likes to like write out their goals, but in terms of the Monaco Grand Prix for this year, started pre-planning it and putting pictures of it on my vision board with the new year when I was trying to like figure out what I was trying to accomplish this year, what I wanted to work into, and then of course having the networking and the connections and kind of building that foundation last year. Just kept really working towards that opportunity for the magazine this year. And the way it came to fruition, working with Formula One directly, was better than I could have ever imagined. So it was really cool to be able to experience it from such a new lens this year.
Right. That's so amazing that it came to life.
All right, Carly. So we're gonna close this off with a milkshake tradition called Checkered Confessions. I have 8 questions for you, and I'm just looking for your gut reaction. First thing that pops in your head. There are no wrong answers.
Okay.
Ready?
Yes.
Okay. Best dressed celebrity you saw.
I'm going to say Simone Ashley.
Most interesting person you met for the first time and why?
Ooh. I'm going to go with Odell Beckham Jr. because I kind of didn't know what to expect, but he was super chill, super personable, and again, great style.
Nice. Favorite of the 10 looks you wore.
Okay, this is a tough one. I'm going to give two. I really loved one of my rented looks was a Steve Madden denim jumpsuit. It was like a wide leg jumpsuit with cargo pants, and then I paired it with some designer accessories to make it a little more elevated with a Louis Vuitton belt and bag. So I wore that for the actual race day, which I really loved. And I was on the fence if it was too casual, but it ended up fitting the vibe. And then for a more dressed up look, which I wore to the Anne Friends yacht party, was a retro fit, kind of like a gold sequin stitched crochet dress. It was high neck and a midi dress, and I feel like it was the perfect vibe for Monaco with a little bit of that shine in there.
We're gonna need to put the links to these items on
I
this
would
chat so others can find it. Dream driver you would want to interview.
I'm gonna go with Charles Leclerc, especially with Monaco being the Grand Prix that I, focus on. He's like the hometown hero there. So I'm gonna go with Charles.
Nice. You've had many pinch me moments that weekend, but which was the biggest one?
I think the hot lap.
Yeah. Okay. Yacht party or paddock walk?
Okay, that's a tough one because I think both are iconic. And I feel like I should say paddock, but I think I'm gonna go with yacht party.
I love that. Travel tip for Monaco first timers.
Shoes. Girls, listen to me. Go comfort over style. I mean, you can have stylish, comfortable shoes, but definitely keep the shoes top of mind for Monaco.
Yeah. Okay. Last one. Which Grand Prix would you want to attend next?
Well, that's a good one. I think I'm gonna go with Singapore. I feel like
Love that.
that's a really cool race. And like thinking globally, big picture, I feel like that would be really, really cool one to experience.
Well, Karli, this interview was meant to be because Vanessa and I are from Singapore. So we love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, meant to be.
We were born there.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Have you guys been to the Grand Prix there?
No, it's in September normally every year, but we need to. It's just really freaking hot, so
Yeah.
we would need to like plan for it. Karli, we're obsessed. Thank you so much for giving us a behind the scenes look at Monaco's luxury, lifestyle, and culture in the best way possible. And to all the milkshake girls, that's it for today, but thanks so much for tuning in. We'll be back soon with more stories from the paddock, the style, and everywhere the F1 meets culture. Bye for now. Thanks,
Thank
Karli.
you guys so much. This was amazing. This was really wonderful.